Hey guys, welcome to Index Card a Day 2023, Day 2. Index Card a Day, or ICAD, is an art challenge to do a piece of art on an index card every day for the month of June and July. So I had this piece of ledger paper in my stash that I had stamped on previously. It looks like I used the Joggles foam stamp called Reinforcements and Dina Wakley Media in acrylic in mineral, and I'm just going to apply that with some multimedia matte as my adhesive. And apparently I don't clean my paintbrushes because both of the paintbrushes I tried to use left a tinge of color behind. So we're just going to use our fingers to apply the glue. I'm also going to put a layer over the top of my ledger paper, and I also had some of this tissue paper, Dina Wakley, left over on my desk from day one's card. So we're just going to pop some of that on there. And then I'm going to take some golden acrylic in Hansa yellow medium and Liquitex heavy body acrylic in light phthalocyanine green. And I'm just going to use a catalyst tool to make a few swipes of the yellow color across my card. And then I'm going to add some spots of that phthalocyanine green. And I had to look it up. Phthalocyanine is just the name of the chemical compound that makes blue or green color. And the pH is silent. So if you see phthalo blue or phthalo green paint, it's the same thing. It's just for some reason Liquitex chose to make it more difficult by spelling out the whole word. So I'm just going to add some spots of that, and I'm also going to take this Dina Wakley mark making tool and stamp into some of the paint here and there. Only in a couple spots. I probably could have skipped this step. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water and add some splashes. What splashes? Why can't it splashes, splatters with the green. And then I'm going to take some fuchsia and some tangerine, Dina Wakley Media acrylic, and I'm just going to apply the colors like kind of next to each other. I'm going to allow them to mix like a little bit, but basically I just want to do some reduction stenciling. So I want to get that color down there. And then I'm going to take a Tim Holtz stencil. This one is called, it's called Splotches. And a baby wipe and remove the paint from the open spaces of the stencil. And it was like a little too bold or pristine or something. So I'm going to remove some of the paint with my baby wipe, and then the baby wipe ended up looking really cool, so we'll be using that in a future project. And then when I don't know where else to go, I like to frame in my card with some black ink. So I decided that I would work on kind of like a focal image-ish of sorts. So I thought I'd do an image transfer. I've never used the multimedia matte to do an image transfer, so I wanted to see how that would work. I don't know. Ranger seems to have some crazy chemists over there that make concoctions. So I didn't know if you could use multimedia matte as like to do an image transfer, but it worked out okay. So I'm just gonna apply a layer of the multimedia matte on the front side of my image, and this is an inkjet printout of a cathedral window. An inkjet printouts usually work just fine for me for image transfers. I know they say you're supposed to use like laser for the best, but I don't know. I've had luck with this. So I apply a layer over the top and a little layer on my card, and then I put my window down and make sure that there's contact, the index card and the window, like it's completely, every spot is touching each other. And then I'm going to let that completely dry. There's two ways you can do an image transfer. You can pull it up right away, like wait a few seconds, a minute or so, and pull it up. Or you could let your glue completely dry and then remove the back layer of the paper pulp. So that's what I did. I let it dry overnight. And I think one of my mistakes was that I completely saturated this with too much water, so the paper got soaked all the way through and removed a little bit too much of that paper. So you just spray water on and then gently try to remove that back layer of the paper pulp, and then I'm going to dry it so I can see what paper's left over. So you can see on the top it's like a little whiter, so I know I have to go back in and remove more of that paper layer. And I wasn't completely happy with it. It wasn't necessarily the fault of the image transfer. It was just maybe the way that it looked. Like, I wasn't happy with the way that it looked. So I'm going to take my Stabilo Marxol, and this is what I do whenever I want to fix an image transfer. I'm going to outline all of those little window panes with my Stabilo Marxol, and I'm going to add some white gesso in those spots there. It's just a way to save, or not necessarily save, just change an image transfer, and it's fun to do. So I'm just going to go in all those little window panes, and when the gesso touches the Stabilo, because it's water soluble, it activates the Stabilo and adds this delightful shadow, and you get all these gray tones, and it looks really cool. And like I said, it's fun to do. Not sure why I left all of this in, but we're not stopping now because this is like my 5th take at a voiceover. Okay, so while that layer of gesso is still wet, I'm going to go in with the Stabilo Marxol and draw in back in some of the lines to make the outline a little darker so you can see it a little better. And because the gesso's wet, it activates the Stabilo and makes the ink or lead or whatever it is dark. And then to finish it off, I'm going to go in with some bright whites as highlights, just some dots here and there. And I thought that, oh no, I'm going to take some India ink, and this is just the Pro Art brand. I think it was like the generic at Michael's or something, and it's lasted like 10 years. I'm just going to use that to add some splatters, some fine splatters across my page. And then I must be on a gold foil kick. So I'm going to take my Speedball Mona Lisa metal leaf adhesive and a tiny paintbrush and go in some of those spots, kind of some of the same areas that I added the touches of white highlights. I'm going to add that glue, and I'm just going to like wave my card back and forth to kind of get it to dry a little bit so I can add my gold foil. And I don't know if my adhesive is old. It is really old. This hasn't been worked like today, and my other card, it didn't work that great for me. It doesn't stick in some spots where the glue is, or maybe my gesso wasn't completely dry. It's sticking where it shouldn't, and it even stuck to the back of the card where I had no glue at all. So I tried to get most of it up the best I could. I'm also going to go in with that Stabilo and draw some of my lines back in because the gold foil like went across some of the window panes. I've done this not using their adhesive. I've used like a glue stick, and it worked really well. So maybe that's what I should do from now on. But I'm loving the pop of gold. So then I'm going to take these Tim Holtz Halloween clippings. Does anybody else use the Halloween clippings year round? Like, sometimes I don't want like a live your life, chase butterflies quote, you know? I like the quotes from the Halloween clippings. They're more interesting sometimes, I think. So this one says, I stilled my beating heart here in the blackened house, and I'm just going to add a drop shadow to that with my Stabilo, and then activate that with some clear water just to feather it out a little bit. And I'm going to add some blue splatters with my Liquitex acrylic ink in cerulean blue hue. We're just going to add some demure splatters. We're not going to get crazy with it. Just to add a little bit of that pop of blue. And I thought I was done. I even did like my sign off, but then I saw I had this gold foil heart on my desk. So I thought it's fitting, since our quote was talking about hearts. I'm going to edge that in StazOn and glue it down with some multimedia matte as a finishing touch. And that is it for day 2. Thank you so much for watching, and supply list down below. I also have my Cash App link down below because someone asked me for it, and by no means feel obligated to do that, but I appreciate just you guys watching and commenting, but someone asked me for it, so I have it down there below also. So thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye bye, guys.